So September, it's a wild time for many working in education. And for many, it's fraught with expectations, new rhythms, closing the gap. Stress and anxiety is swirling for many people. And I want today's meeting to be about collaboration, to find ways to support parents in this equation. I want us to put our heads together and discuss parent support in a creative and heart-filled way. And I've had the fortune of speaking with each of you, and it's been inspiring to hear how you're taking a unique approach to education innovation. And some of you have focused your efforts, even in part, towards supporting parents in some way. I believe this is an integral piece of the picture. And as parents of two learners, the topic of parent support is close to my heart. I think many of you know that. I think parents are the force multiplier to any learning done in education. If we understand parents and support them, they can be assets. So before we begin with our special guests, I wanted to open up the floor to all of you to share your perspective and what you're working on. We have about 10 minutes here just to sort of tee up the discussion with Matt and Ellie, and also to give Matt and Ellie an idea of who some of you are and what you're working on. So if you want to unmute yourself and put your hand up, maybe Sky can call on everybody to share what are you guys doing to support parents, and just a little share on that before we begin with Matt and Ellie. Chris.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm in California. Matt, you and I started talking on LinkedIn, so I'm looking forward to today. I mean, my focus is primarily with parents is my work at Green School in the Bridge, which is trying to figure out ways of empowering parents to pivot in their life and also be more engaged with their children and providing mentoring programs to students and things like that. So I'm really interested in the talk today and how we facilitate that engagement. So thank you to both of you for coming.
Thanks, Chris. Stephanie, please go ahead.
Morning, everybody. I'm in Chelsea, Quebec, not too far away from Hope. And I work with both teens, kids, and parents to help them understand that they own their education. So whether that means they're looking at ways to make school work better for them, or often it means they're leaving school and stepping into more of a homeschooling, self-directed kind of approach, I help them understand what's possible and give them the tools and the strength and the confidence to make those big steps. I also often wind up continuing in a mentoring relationship with the teens after that point.
And I would just quickly say that Stephanie is like the calm in the room when parents are fraught. I've experienced it. Big up, Stephanie, thank you. Jesse, go ahead.
Great. I just want to build off of
we have two Jessies.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
wants to go first?
Jesse Ross.
Okay, thank you. Build off of Stephanie's idea of helping parents and students own their education. The work that we're doing at One Stone is about letting students and families own their progress, their goals, their assessment tools, so that assessment isn't something that's done to students at a school, but it's instead something that is initiated by students and families, and saying that this is where I want to be, and this is the growth that I'm having, not just in one particular siloed space, but the growth that is happening in after school activities with families, on adventures with families. And so that's part of it, is moving assessment out of the school and into the students' hands. And then we also do a lot of work, speaking of mentorship, Stephanie, in helping families and educators develop a mentor mindset, and working with students on goal setting again, and reflection, and using those tools in sequence to really build connections between interests and explore them in meaningful ways.
Thank you, Jesse. Go ahead, Jesse.
Thanks, Hope. My work at Pacific Preparatory School and Tutor Corps focuses primarily on customized one-to-one education. So a lot of my conversations with parents are about helping them find a helpful path for their child. So often parents come to me when they're in crisis, when their child is in the hospital, or when their child has been kicked out of school, or when any number of things happen that have disrupted their normal school environment, and then they really are in fairly dire straits. And so then talking with them and helping create sort of a supportive community around them to help them through this time and give them real options.
Awesome. Noan, please.
So my name is Noan. I work at Green School Bali for the Green Educators Network, and working with educators, it's kind of hilarious because parents are these boogeymen for a lot of teachers. But there's another side to it, which is that these are also the champions for so many of these kids. They're the people who hold them up to really great standards. And I feel like there's just this piece missing where often we're not necessarily educating the whole family. We're just educating the students and forget that the parents need to be on board as well. And so a small innovation that I threw in was a parental re-education guide as an onboarding for parents who are coming into a school that I developed called Real School. And that helped a little to get that edge off of something new and exciting in education.
Awesome. Thanks, Noan. Anybody else want to share? I know, Tim, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so thanks very much. Thanks. Looking forward to the bonds there, the double tag team. So yeah, I'm doing Brave Generation Academy, and basically from our side, we do focus a lot on the learners, but we've also understood that the parents are super brave to try us out. And if it works with the learners and they start to flourish and they're happy, we actually make parents think they're much better parents. So that's very important in what we're doing. Yeah, and every time it works, parents say, yeah, we're doing really well, and we love it that they're doing really well. So that's it. Yeah.
I like that flip. Bradley, go ahead, please.
Hey, everybody. So I've got two hats. One is Magic Media. Since 2007, we've been using entertainment as a way to teach and transform online, building online communities, launches, helping educators turn their message into a movement. And then we launched a baby last year called Magic Kids. And we've been producing really magical stories for magical kids. So voice actors and musicians for the audio stories, partnering with Illustrator Books. We're the first ever fair trade publishing company, so paying 50% of our revenue back to our artists so we can get as many artists making art for the kids. And we're building an app right now for educators and families to take all of these amazing homeschooling resources that we're developing right now.
Awesome. You wear more hats too. You're a dad. I think many of you guys are parents, right? Laurel, please go ahead.
Well, I'm feeling a bit like a black sheep because my work is in higher education and in research. So I don't really work with parents, but I am a parent. And I must admit, I've got my kids in public school, French immersion, sort of the conventional system. And to be totally honest, I don't want to be involved in their schooling that much. So I'm busy, I'm doing a PhD. I also teach. I have a baby as well. I want them to learn good stuff from good teachers without me having to work at that. And I also acknowledge too, I'm at OISE and we talk a lot about privilege and diversity. And it's a privileged position to have the time, energy, resources as a parent to be really invested in schooling. I mean, of course, and there's also this distinction, I think, that's important between schooling and education, because parents are inevitably educators. But I kind of want to hand off the schooling piece, but now I'm sitting here feeling very guilty about that. So I just thought I would share that perspective from a parent with kids in a conventional school, for what that's worth.
It's worth everything. You know what that's worth? That's worth the fact that you're honest. This is a space for all perspectives. This is not a siloed group or one slice of the pie. Thanks, Laurel. I love it. I love your honesty, and there is no guilt. And Matt is going to dive into that, because that's very much, I think you've hit on certain nerves that he speaks to all the time. Thank you. And Stephanie's got some great comments in here, because those are also comments she deals with or connects on a daily basis. Did anybody else want, before we move to the remarkable duo, does anybody else want to share? Liz, go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Quain. I'm American, but currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My kids and I, we've been traveling for the last 6 years, almost full-time, world schooling. So I will be soon launching a program and a course to coach other parents who would like to world school. And I will focus a lot on how to educate the kids, whether it's online or in person, jumping around the world. I had previously worked with Kelly Davis at Kubrio for a few years. I had also run my own brick and mortar education business outside of Seattle. So I've been in the education space for a while. My kids have tried many different ways to learn. I have 13-year-old twin girls now. And so I'm going to be recommending various different ways to educate, because I know every family is different, every kid is different, what works for them, what doesn't. So if any of you provide solutions or accept world schooling families in your program, online or in person, please reach out to me, because I will start trying to interview various education service providers and world schooling type service providers for my course. Thanks, Hope, for getting us all together.
Awesome. Thank you. Chris, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Coulter. I run a charity called howareyoufeeling.org. We are in the emotional health space, because we believe that kids can't have academic success without emotional health. We've developed this innovative program teaching kids how to recognize, identify, understand, and be able to process their emotions. So we're in the midst right now of trying to get into a number of the private schools. We've had a couple of public schools in the Toronto area that have actually included us in their curriculum, which is awesome. So we're starting to make have some great momentum, and our kids are, quite frankly, our biggest ambassadors. They're the byproduct that's come as a result of them participating in our volunteer program over the summers. We've created these ardent fans and advocates for the program. So we're seeing them flex their muscles as far as creating advocacy groups within their own schools, which is great, because that's a springboard for us to continue to have the argument with their administration. So anyway, thanks. I really enjoyed being part of this group. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Somebody has a truck backing into their Zoom screen. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to zip over to this other screen. Is there anybody else who wants to share? And then I'm going to pass the mic.